Had a little listen to his podcast, huh?
Dude, it's educational. Besides, I've been wanting to listen to this one.
Welcome to Idling in the Impala, a podcast by and for lovers of supernatural and the fan fiction it inspires. I'm Sandra.
I'm Karlee, and today we are bringing back some Canon Fodder. So long-time listeners will remember we used to put Canon Fodder in every episode, and then the episodes start getting longer and longer and longer, and something had to go. And we were like, well, we're hilarious, so we're not going to cut ourselves out. So Canon Fodder got moved, and we started doing the like podfic full readings and stuff like that. But we thought it's been a minute, and I look at the YouTube analytics. You guys go crazy for the fics, so let's bring some Canon Fodder back. Let's have a chat. So Sandra's fic, I thought I had read it, but I haven't. So she's going to sell me on her fic, and for my recommendation, she thinks she's maybe read some of it, but maybe not all of it. So we're just going to sell it to
It's been a while. Yeah.
And as always, her fic is beautiful. She's put comments in there. There's notes. She knows what she wants to talk about. And I'm like, it's been at least 6 months since I read mine, and I vaguely remember the plot. So, but we're really going to hammer in on that because Sandra is a very stressed human today because I have held an organizational intervention, and we're just going to let her go with her organization and things like that. So, Sandra, what fic are you recommending to us today?
So I am recommending, it's called Santiago's, and it is by JJ Jupiter. I believe it is, let's see, it was published October of 2020. This author, I was looking at their dashboard and their works. So they've only got 15 works in total, but I think I've probably read at least half of them. No surprise, I've read the ones that are Dean and original female character focused more than any of the other ones. The writing is it's contained, but it's very story, beginning, middle, end, or like slice of life. And they focus on a lot of pre-series, pre-canon stuff. What I just came across now when I really looked at everything in their library, they also have like Wincest, but it's alternate universe gender changes, and it's younger, like pre-series. So I have not read those, and I think it might be, from what I've seen, it looks like Sam might be the sister. But again, I have not read them. But I may have to. I don't see why.
Because he's got long hair.
But
I have.
But Dean
is
prettier, quote unquote. Don't you think that? Like, if you were looking, I think Dean he's got the pretty boy look. I could see that more. That's just me. That's me. I see the hair for Sam. Again, I don't know. But
would you like the keys to the digger for that whole you're digging for yourself?
No, because I believe if you asked people, and I'm not saying that as, I'm saying like more feminine features. In my mind, I just think Dean is prettier that way. That's just me.
I don't know. I think Sam's got some pretty, like, neither of them are particularly feminine, but I can see feminine features in Sam. But I do get what you're saying. Dean has it's his mouth. Like, we can all say it, can't we? It's his mouth. Man's got cocksucking lips. Like, I'm sorry, we've all got eyes. That's what it is. But no, I have read some of the gender swapped Wincest stuff, and it does disproportionately seem to be Sam that is the gender swapped, or you see, maybe this is just my search history of the moment, like Sam being assigned female at birth and then being trans male is also quite common. It's less common to find either female or trans male Dean. It's out there, but it's less common. So,
do you think that's more because a lot of the leaning is just for Dean being a bisexual male? Do you think that's kind of probably a lot of it too?
I think it's maybe, I think if you were gonna, Dean is the one that I could see being more pansexual in a hedonistic way, in like a not bothered who it is, you know, how they identify, cis man, cis woman,
right,
you know, trans man, trans woman, whatever, you know, just I don't want to be like, I don't care about being crude, but like to be crude, any hole's a goal kind of thing, you know, not being fussed about the gender or the assigned sex of the person. Whereas I think Sam's a little bit more straight and narrow.
Well, yeah, I mean, like I just find it funny. There's no, like, in my mind, you know, Sam, there's never, at least like on the show, there's never any hint, I think, of any, unless you consider Wincest, right, as like the thread that a lot of people pull. But otherwise, there's never this, oh, Sam's into dudes kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I guess maybe that's where the gender, like in this sort of like instance where, again, I have never read any of these, but just based off of the author, I am now like, I probably am going to read these. I mean, I'm gonna because they're a really great writer, and but you know me, it's like I just like give me all the Dean with the emails, and then I go the other way. But so this one, again, I wish they wrote more. I don't think they've really written anything since, I think 2020 is the last. This might be one of the last ones they've written, I think, when you look at their work. But really, a lot of pre-series stuff, which I just find myself liking to go back and get feedback of what other people feel like the boys. We kind of know what the boys' life was like, but really embellishing and giving us more detail, and some of it's just even more heartbreaking. But it's like, you know, it gives you the building blocks for the men that or the young men that you see at the start of the show. So
I'm always a little tentative with pre-series stuff. Like, I don't mind it, but I find it very quickly can descend into underage things. And I'm like,
which it does just by the fact that it's,
the virtue of, if you're looking pre-series, you know, Sam's 22 at the start. And if you keep it canonical that he hasn't spoken to Dean since he was 19, you kind of, I mean, I'm like, the age of consent in the UK is 16, but there's no, until you get over 20, there's no combination of Sam and Dean's age gap that is okay. Until they're over 20, both of them over 20. You're like, 16-year-old and a 20-year-old? Nope.
Yeah.
You know, 15, 19? Nope.
But then also the argument is there's incest, so
that's not, that's totally different. I'm like, incest is fine, underage is not. Look, I never claimed to make sense. I'm just like, no, I don't know. There's just 4 years is a weird age gap.
No.
If it was two, and you were like, okay, 16-year-old and 18-year-old, 15, 17, 14, 16, fucking stop it. Anything below that, call the police.
Yeah. I think that might be why too. I'm just like, there's the fact that it's AU pre-series and gender changes. I'm like, I don't doubt that it's good writing. So I'll probably have to, like, you know, go in with like, okay, let's just see what it's about. Let's see if it gets, what do you usually call it? Squeaky or squeaky?
Yeah.
Squeaky.
See if it gives you the ick.
Yeah. So if it does, then, you know, I probably won't. But I think whenever I am reading anything that is Wincest, it's never pre-series or younger age stuff anyway. It's always older. That's why.
I'll give it a go. I don't mind. So I'll go in with an open mind. But
I've literally never read a gender change one, so I should probably.
I highly recommend. But no, I go in with an open mind, and then I'm just like, if I get the ick, I will leave. But I won't. I try, unless it's like there's an extreme underage tag on AO3, and I'm just like, why? Why? Like, that's, you know, like I said, anything under 14, and I'm like, oh no,
yeah,
absolutely not. And again, 4 years is like, no matter where on the scale you put that, you're in different stages of your life. So if we take the UK age of consent is 16, unless you're gay, in which case I think it's 18 because logic, right? So, okay, 16-year-olds. I don't know. And I think that only applies to gay men. I don't think that applies to lesbians, females that identify as gay.
Okay.
I don't know. So if we're like, okay, right, Sam's 16, that's fine. But Dean's 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they're vastly different stages of life. Even though it's only 4 years, vastly different.
Yeah.
And I think for me as well, like fan fiction exists in its own little world for me, and I don't equate it with real world.
Mm-hmm.
But as my eldest son gets older,
mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh no,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to. No,
Yeah.
there's certain things that you're just like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be thinking about those two things in the same brain space. So
yeah.
No, I'm always
see that.
tentatively cautious with pre-series stuff, unless it's marked AU. If it's AU, then it's fine. But if it's marked canon, we proceed with caution.
Yeah. And these are, like I said, I know the ones I've read, it's like first time or discovery. And it's typically not, I haven't read anything that's Dean and Sam by this author, but I have faith that they would probably do it in a way that's not squicky, I think. So I'm going to have to give it a try because, so this one, Santiago's, it's about 12,000 words. The main gist of it is Sam and Dean they're kind of having to make it on their own in a rundown, kind of like a one road sort of town, because of course John's off on a hunt. And actually, like, one of the first things I highlighted was just a really interesting just description of like Sam and Dean and John leaving them.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of how, first he was supposed to be gone for just like a week and a half. And now it's turning into like 2-3 weeks. And Dean's having to figure out, what am I going to do to take care of Sam? And the way this is broken up, it's Sam point of view, and then they have a Dean point of view that they bounce back and forth on. And I like it because you're kind of seeing what Sam's wrestling with, but then you're also seeing Dean through his eyes as to what he's doing to kind of like make ends meet. And I like the way the brotherly bond is kind of, explored and played with. Again, it's not Wincest. It's bisexual Dean discovery. And so Dean's trying to figure out, he's hustled people in this town. He's already gotten a name for himself. Like, people are irritated with him. He's just like, played them for a bunch of money, but now he has to figure out, well, now we're going to be here longer than I expected. We got to find a way to make ends meet. This one bar that's kind of the only bar in town is called Santiago's. Owner's name is Santiago. Dean decides to go and ask about, they're doing like this unlicensed boxing competition thing. So he wants to try to get in on that to kind of make some extra money in the process. Santiago's like, well, he's like, you've already pissed enough people off. You're maybe going to get 1 or 2 fights in, and then you're going to need another way to make some cash. And he's like, I've got a cousin. He needs a mechanic. I heard you're really good with fixing cars. You can do that at night. And basically, like, he's going to be, scrapping like different cars for parts and stuff like that for this cousin. So in the middle of all that, you get to see Sam seeing Dean's relationship with Santiago from the outside a little bit, and then the realization that something's not what it seems, and Sam just being completely accepting and okay with it, but Dean being the one that's like, dude, I'm not gay, da 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 da. But like, Sam's like, well, it doesn't matter, like he could care less. It's his brother. So it's kind of like that immediate acceptance. And then I won't say how the story ends, because again, there's a distinct beginning, middle, and end to it. Some really, there's one there's one thing that I highlighted too. There's a little Sam.
Sam likes goth chicks.
Yeah, he likes goth chicks. I really liked that. And the goth chick ends up actually being Santiago's girlfriend. There's some male action with Santiago, Dean, the girlfriend, and then there's the first time with Santiago and Dean, and really just like amazing. It's really good writing, but
yeah,
I gotta read a little bit of it. I don't know. I don't know which part to read when I actually was going to be time for it. Maybe it's going to be the thing that I just highlighted, the couple pages where it's actually with Sam sneaking in, or he's listening first outside of Santiago's office, where Dean and Santiago are kind of like figuring out, okay, well, are you going to take the job? Da, 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 da. And he hears this back and forth, and then he hears noises, can't figure out kind of what's going on. He thinks Dean's in trouble, walks in, and he sees Dean with Santiago basically like on his desk. They're kissing, making out, and it's getting pretty hot and heavy, but that's like when he first gets that, oh, I did not know that was a thing. And then again, like what happens throughout the rest of the afternoon with Sam eventually being like, it's fine. Like, just, I don't have a problem with it. And Dean wrestling with it. Yeah.
Dean and being like, shut up. No. What are you talking
because
about? Not even
again, it's about what his father's perception of him. Right. And I think he just knows that it's not going to fly. It's not going to be something John's going to be okay with. And I like the way it ends. It's bittersweet. It's again, like kind of that first time that what if, what could be, but then not. And then Dean kind of standing up for himself just a little bit, just enough, and kind of making John sit back and kind of like have to take in what's occurring. And I don't know, again, because it's pre-series and, pre-canon, I doubt that was ever a thing that probably actually occurred. It probably should have, but I think Dean would be in a much different place if, he'd started to come to terms with whatever he was wrestling with earlier and not worried so much about his father. But yeah, there's I think it's bottom Dean in this. I'm looking at the tags.
No.
Bottom Dean.
Yeah, it's tagged first time bottoming. Dean Winchester's first time with a man. One of my favorite tags of all time. Bad parent, John Winchester.
Mm-hmm.
It's missing the John Winchester's A+ parenting.
Yeah.
But that looks like Dean's first time.
Yeah. But there's a lot, again, like the point of view from Sam and just how much he's going through too, like with all of this and talking about school, talking about all of that. So I think it's a good mix of, it's like porn with plot. Like it's got plot with plot, porn without plot, and then it's got porn with plot. So there is plot with this porn. And it's an emotional journey, I think, too, for the both of them. But yeah, it's really, and I mean, Santiago sounds really hot just by the description. So you get two hot guys together.
I'm in for Lydia, I'm afraid.
Lydia too. Yes, I was like,
yeah,
the Lydia thing is that's very interesting too. Because I think they kind of go at it with her first, and then she just kind of like passes out, and then it's like time for Dean.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's I'll be honest with you, not easy being queer in today's day and age. But being pan or bi is easy as fuck. It's great. Like, you are never disappointed. Like, maybe that applies more to being pan or polysexual than the more traditional bisexual, but you're never disappointed. Just little behind the scenes here. When Sandra was writing her Dean pegging fic, and she was like, will you just look at this? Will you just look at this? Because we like, neither of us are like, well, Sandra's a good beta. I'm a terrible beta. I'm just like, this is hot. That's great. But I was like keeping up with it. And I vividly remember writing a comment that was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to want to be Dean or fuck Dean. I don't know, because I want this girl that you're writing. Like, Dean's great, but could we have more of her, please? Jesus fucking, she had leather pants on, people. She had leather pants on. Come on now. I'm only human. I'm only human. So yeah, I'm here for Lydia. I will definitely be going and reading this, and Lydia. Good.
Yeah, I think it's going. I think it's, again, I I do like this writer, and I haven't read everything, but now that I kind of like dug in a little bit more, I'm like, okay, well, there's more stuff I probably need. And that's the really fun thing about I find fan fiction, and when you find a writer that sometimes they surprise you by what they decide to try and write, and usually I'm not disappointed. So I'm crossing fingers when I read some of the AU gender stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's kind of the majority of what they've done with Sam and Dean. As we now segue, Karlee, what is your pick for this?
Well,
episode?
I will 100% be going to read Santiago's, and I've looked through their back catalogue and I'm like, and that one, and that one, and that one, and that one. So I know what I'm doing this evening. So, but my pick for this week is it's a fic called Not Unless Sam Says, and it's by Spectacular Sammy. I definitely feel like maybe I've recommended this person before.
That name is very familiar. Yes.
Did I recommend Not Unless Sam Says, though? I don't think I did.
I'll have to look, because either this was one that we kept talking about and then we just didn't use, but I remember the name. So I'd have to go back and look at our episodes.
I'd have to. Yeah. I don't think we did, but maybe we did. I don't know. There's probably a folder where we hold all the already recommended things. There's probably a folder.
You have one that's already recommended. I'm going to look at it right now.
I'm going to look at it now. Look, that we're absolute professionals, people. Absolute professionals. I may need to amend my pick very, very quickly. No, I don't think so. It's not in the already recommended fic.
Okay, so it must have just been one that we were going to keep putting in there, and then we just never did. Just never actually used it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now unless Sam says.
Maybe not. So yeah, it's called Not Unless Sam Says.
And like it's a long one.
It's a long one. And it's not only is it a long one, it's part of a pretty long series as well. That's also called Not Unless Sam Says, and it covers a variety of scenarios. So the best way I can describe this is it's a Sam cross Rita fic, where basically Sam and Rita are in a kink relationship, a BDSM relationship. Sam is the dom, Rita is the sub, and they play various different games. And it's not full time. It's not full time, but it's, they kind of, an invitation to play can be given out at any time and accepted or rejected. So, not full time, but the option is always there, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And this is the first incarnation of this one, of the whole series. And this one features Sam bringing in Dean. And Dean he's not an unwilling participant, but he's not thrilled by what occurs either. So the general, we start off with her being punished for not listening to Sam on a hunt, and effectively he sort of grounds her. Mm-hmm. And then she knows that he's gonna punish her, and it comes, sort of the next day, and he sort of sets her up and gets her on the bed and everything, and then just invites Dean in. And I believe it may have been pre-discussed. It's definitely pre-discussed between Sam and Dean, but it's maybe not pre-discussed between her and Sam. Mm-hmm. So he's like, yeah. So Dean's gonna do what I say, and Dean's gonna fuck you, and Dean's gonna I think actually Dean just watches for the first time, but later on in the series there is definitely sex with Dean, but for the first time her punishment is just she's gonna masturbate and Dean's gonna watch effectively, and Sam enjoys watching her as well. Mm-hmm. So it's just, like I said, it's quite heavy on the kink and stuff like that. And it features one of my real pet peeves, which is edging and orgasm denial. Mm-hmm. I don't mind orgasm delay, not denial. I'm not here for delayed gratification, people. Like now, and then again in 5 minutes, but now. So there's a lot of denial and things like that, which I find quite frustrating, which is, I'm assuming, the point of the whole kink.
Yeah.
It's something I play with. But yeah, it's really interesting with sort of like, it's from the reader's point of view,
Mhm.
and sort of like how she feels about knowing Dean is watching and stuff like that. And this, as I say, I'm just sort of focusing on the first chapter here,
Mhm.
because there are a couple more chapters in this, but sort of for the sort of introduction, the recommendation.
Do you feel that maybe the way that it was presented to Dean, that he knew what he was in for, that he was just going to, like, that there was a sort of like a dom sub edge to everything that was going to happen? Or do you think he's just like, oh, threesome, and then Sam sprung it on him? Or do you think Dean just didn't know what he was in for, even if Sam had explained it to him? I'm curious.
I think given sort of like the end of the first chapter, you know, comes with Sam being like, "Oh, Dean, I don't know. Do you think she should come?" And Dean is like, "What the fuck are you doing? Yes, let her. Why are you like this? My God." And he, like, Dean gets quite upset, and he just like, I think it was presented to Dean that she was going to be punished, and you know, Sam would like to maybe like it's like a humiliation thing, maybe. I'm not sure.
Oh,
But
and there is
Dean's,
a line here. Yeah. Dean grumbles as he walks out of the room. Not sure who the fuck just got punished, but I don't think it was either of you. The door slams
yeah,
behind him.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's just, I think maybe Sam presented it to Dean as like she's into humiliation, you know, she'll really get off on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Dean was maybe expecting
Mm-hmm.
it to go down. But as we get sort of further into the series, Dean becomes much more of a regular feature. And while Sam is ultimately the dom in control of the scene,
Mm-hmm.
the reader gets to like dominate Dean, and we see this really kind of interesting dynamic of Dean not being used to being a sub in any capacity. And I don't mean like a bottom, I mean a true sub, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So we get this really interesting dynamic of Sam still dominating her,
Mm-hmm.
and then she's dominating Dean, but then Dean's like really struggling with it, so she's kind of like sympathizing with him as a submissive as well, and being like, just take a deep breath, it's gonna be fine, you know, you can stop anytime, you know, it's okay, kind of thing. And it leads to this really interesting dynamic. And there's never any inclination of feelings developing between Sam and not between Sam and Dean, between Dean and the reader. It's always just a sexual thing, and Sam is always really possessive of her. So if they're, you know, all together, and he'll be like snapping at Dean, like, be careful and don't do this, and you know, you got to be gentle and this bit, and you got to do this, and da 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 da. And it's a really interesting dynamic. And even though the series is Sam cross reader, it does tend to take a bit of a backseat, because it very much narrows down to the reader's focus, and a lot of times that focus is actually on Dean and what's happening.
So really, it's the relationship at the core of like what the reader and Sam are like exploring, and the dynamic and the shift of Sam being able to tell Dean what to do, which probably doesn't, you know, as we all know, in real life doesn't happen.
That's a point of contention, because sort of the go word is Sam will call reader little girl, and she will answer him, yes, Sam. So he will lay out the rules of the scene, whatever's going to happen, and lay it all out, and she will answer him, yes, Sam, and that's the green light. And Dean is very adamant that he's not going to say that, he's not going to answer, Sam's not going to tell him when he can come and when he can't come. He's not going to be dominated by Sam, but inevitably, using the reader as Sam's proxy, that is what happens. and he does, his orgasms are controlled. He's told what to do. It just kind of bypasses Sam directly telling him.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a really healthy exploration of King, which, as you know, we're all about that.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's good and it's healthy. And, there's a lot of sweet moments between Sam and the reader as well to bypass the, sometimes really, really heavy Dom scenes. And it contrasts. And this author doesn't write anymore, unfortunately. And before they stopped, they started a series that was like pre-relationship with Sam and the reader meeting up and sort of starting to look into kink, and being like, oh, well, I really like it when you told me to do this. But then, they stopped writing for whatever reason. And I'm eternally frustrated by that. But it does happen. But it is, you can read those, you can read you can read the first chapter and leave it because it does end with Dean storming out. And you can leave it there. And if you think, no, this is too heavy for me, that's fine. But if you proceed, there is gold. It's great. It's really, really good. Highly, highly recommend. Like I said, they've done a lot of different sort of installments of this series, and it's just, it's interesting. It's a good, a good look into just kink and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Highly,
and I'm seeing like
recommend.
there's daddy and little girl.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah. So
now she can't call, what does she call? She doesn't call Dean anything, right? Like
no, he calls her kitten though, which is about as amazing as it sounds. No, she just calls him Dean.
Okay.
Yeah, and like Sam calls her little girl, which is, it's a little bit like, not really for me. I think it put me off a couple of times because I was like, oh, I'm really not into that. But then like you read through it and I'm like, I might be though, like maybe though.
No, it looks, I mean, I'm probably gonna read because I'm just going through some. I feel like I just read the first chapter, I think, when I read this the first time when I was having to do like the narration. So now I'm looking at other bits of it, and we were talking about with like the power play and how Dean's like, nope, I'm gonna decide when this is gonna happen. And then the next chapter of, looks like they've been away for a while. Yeah. So I see little girl, I see good girl.
Yeah.
I see the baseball bat.
that is I was saying this to Sandra before we started recording. It's just one throwaway line, but it's really, it's a bit of levity in quite a serious scene. And I don't mean like a scene in the story, I mean like a BDSM, like a scene where he's like, I'm gonna punish you and you're in trouble and da-da-da, and he literally just turns around and is just like, I was gonna do da-da-da-da and it was gonna be really nice, and now I have to walk around with this fucking baseball bat in my pants, and it's fucking hilarious. And like, it comes out of nowhere and it's really, really funny.
Yeah.
So it's just, and there's lots and lots of, they've written other stuff outside of this series as well, and it's just awesome. Like, highly, highly recommend.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm definitely going to read this one. I'm going to read this one through.
Yeah.
This one's interesting that they don't use YN. They just have like blanks for name and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit.
And this
like,
is
it's
older.
Fine.
This is like 2014.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. And they haven't written for quite a while, you said?
No, the last thing they uploaded was in 2017.
Okay. So
it's,
Oh, and look, their icon is Sam, so I get the idea, since it's spectacular Sammy, it's just a lot of Sam and Reader, right? Yeah. Looking. Sam Reader.
Yep.
Okay. No, there's a lot. There's 30, what is it, 37? 37 works.
Yeah. Like I said, not all of them are included in the not unless Sam says, but quite a few of them are. I think it's about 15 15 parts to that one. Some of them are just one shots, some of them are a bit longer.
Oh gosh, one is like 260,000 words and they were at chapter. Is that the one you were talking about? They're like chapter 61 and it doesn't look like they've completed.
No, that's a totally different fic. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a different fic completely.
No, interesting stuff. I think I might have to look into there.
I think I'm gonna have to
edgy
reread
Supernatural Birthday. That one sounds
parts 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, and that's a part of Not Unless Sam Says. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the last thing they wrote was it's Caught Up in You, and it's a prequel. And there's 12 chapters. It's like 75,000 words. But it doesn't, it's, as I say, it doesn't end right. I don't know how it ends.
I wonder if they have any, because it says they have a Tumblr too. I wonder if maybe they have some of their stuff on Tumblr that just didn't make its way over to AO3.
Maybe so. If only AO3 had a way for you to reach out to authors and be like, "Hey, you alive? You okay? You haven't
I can
written
ask
in 5 years."
If it's one of those things. I mean, like I said, if I can find them on Tumblr, could always reach out that way. At least that's an option. And they have a Gmail.
Maybe we will reach out to them then.
We did a Canon Fodder, just a Canon Fodder episode. So
yeah,
we stuck to fanfic. We did our job after about an hour and a half of not doing it. We rallied. And I think the other thing, and I don't even know if this is like going to be a thing or not, but I'm not very well versed with Discord, but I had a Discord username a while back, and I'm gotten into using it again just recently for some communication. So I was like, oh, hey, you can create a server. So created an Idling in the Impala server. There'll be information in the description. If anybody wants to access that, see if we're online or available to chat for any particular reason. No idea, just throwing it out there. We may never use it. We'll see what happens. But that'll be another area or way that if you want to try to connect with us, you can do so. So I'm going to just list out some other ways you can reach out to us. It is if you want to write to us via email, email address is idlinginttheimpala@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are idling in the letter D Impala, and Karlee is now beginning to give you notes and like just live tweets about what we're doing when we're recording, which usually isn't much until we actually get going. It's a lot of discussion and a lot of prep, and then we get into it. So if you want
a lot of arguments about Sandra.
Yeah.
Why is this here? And she goes, don't know. It just is. And I'm like, can we move it somewhere more appropriate? And she says yes, because she's very sweet. But I know internally she's fucking seething. She's so angry with me right now.
I'm working through it.
See, she would admit it. She's not even like, that's because you're American. If you were British, you'd go, no, I'm not angry. But because you're American, you're like, yeah, I fucking am. I'm dealing with it, right? You fucked up my folders and everything, and I'm mad about it, and I'm gonna feel the way I feel about it. Which is, but we're trying to like ramp up the tweets and stuff with just some general day-to-day life things. Maybe I'll tweet my cats.
Oh, okay. That might be interesting. Yeah, we could do Jinx. Lots of Jinx and what Jinx is up to when
Jinx,
we're recording.
Jinx is a mascot for many things now. He's a good mascot. He's a good boy. Yeah. Check out our Twitter for information about our podcast and when we release new episodes, for information about behind the scenes arguments, and also my cat idling in the letter D Impala. That was great. I'm so proud of that.
And then if you want to reach out to me on AO3, I am Drasna. That's DRASNA on Twitter. I am Kyle Writes. That's SKYLEWRITES. And if you want to read or learn more about some of my original fiction, you can visit my website at sandrakyle.com. I'm not going to tell you what my Discord name is because it's also different, and you will find out if you go into the server what that is.
What kicks off the whole, why are the podcast folders like this, was she gave me, we were starting out, we were just doing housekeeping, admin stuff, and she was like, and Discord. And I was like, okay, I've made a Discord, I've joined the thing, and my name is the same. And I just threw it out there, I was like, I'm going to make my profile picture the same, So it matches everything else. And then I was like, Sandra, why is it different? Because I think it's your Tumblr name, isn't it? And I was like, I can make mine my Tumblr name if you want. You can find me on Tumblr. It's Sam is my safe word. I do nothing on there. Absolutely nothing. I just have what do you have on Tumblr? Is it a blog?
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck you have on Tumblr. I have one of those.
Yeah.
So hers was her Tumblr name. So I was like, do you want me to make mine my Tumblr name as well? It's fine. And she's like, no, it's just because it's old. And I was like, why didn't you make it Drasna so it matched? And that kicked off the whole conversation. So I'm the agent of chaos in all things, apart from this one very specific corner of my life, which is all of my online shit, is all my ducks are in a row, is all matching. So if you want to find me on AO3, I am Karlee Karma. I'm the same on Twitter, same profile picture in both places. In case you think, hey, I wonder if there's more than one person out there with a weird smelled name. If you want to reach out to me on Discord, I'm also Karlee Karma on Discord, and it's also the same profile picture. So, you know, just because however you think Karlee might be spelled, I promise you it's not. It's Karlee, and then Karma as you would spell it normally. So reach out to us, reach out on Discord. We'll be around. Send us an email. Reach out to us on Twitter. Do you have cats? Share your cats. We'll make a cat Twitter. It will be fine. But reach out to us on Twitter. Let us know if you want some more like just fun behind the scenes stuff. Got any fic recommendations that you want us to take a look at? Maybe have Sandra read a little bit of. Send them to us on Twitter. Send them to us in an email. Come and check out our stuff on AO3. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and we will see you in the backseat next time. Bye.
Bye.